Jason is incredible. He loves people. He has a huge passion for helping others and serving others. Jason's purpose is to be a leader, and his why is to be a light. So can you guys help by standing up and giving an incredible Idaho Business Summit warm welcome to Jason?
So I want to share real quick, I was on the camp of having 3 children. I lost that battle, and it actually was 4, so page one that one. Guys, I'm super excited to be here. When Carrie first reached out and asked if I'd be a part of this, it was a pretty easy yes for me. Once I got my schedule lined out, we actually have a big event in Boise for Title I today that I'm missing. We've got a talented group up there that's leading that, but just really excited to be here. When she talked about people, purpose, passion, those are 3 big ones. I'm going to talk a little bit about those in a while. Guys, today I'm going to do my best to share the J Foundation, the work we're doing there. Carrie asked me to speak on what we're doing at the J Foundation. Some of you have heard the story. For others, this will be the first time, and just super excited to share Jay's story and what we're doing there. We're going to talk a little bit about a tool and really have an interactive tool today to share with you guys and what that looks like. So it'll be awesome to put that one to work. We actually did it with Magic Valley Electric last week, and first time we rolled it out, and it was really neat. So if anything goes wrong today with that, no, it's still a new tool, but I think it's going to work great. So, and then really, I'm going to share kind of my leadership strategy. It's called Mountain Journey. Is something I built out, and I'm really going to share it with a public audience for the first time today. We run a version of it at Title I, but really excited to share kind of a mountain journey with you guys. So we're going to go a few different spots today, and then I think Carrie's going to fire away with a few questions. But guys, we're going to start with the J Foundation. And to truly understand the J Foundation, we've got to go back to Pinedale, Wyoming. So I did grow up in God's country, and really when you think Pinedale, think super small town. So we had 2,000 people. We were at the base of the Wind River Mountains. Our claim to fame was we were 99 miles away from a railroad track and a shopping mall, and we liked it that way. It was one of those places that you had to go to and not through. And very young age, I didn't know it at the time, one of my best friends was adopted from Korea. And you'll see him here. His original name was Jim J. Young. He later became J. Bob Bing. So he was adopted by the Bing family here. You'll see Bob and Carolyn, his parents, Travis and Tara, his brother and sister, and then his adopted brother, Solon, as well. So the Bing family for 75 years has owned the Cowboy Shop back in Pinedale. And some of you guys in this room have actually been back there and got to experience the Cowboy Shop, which is pretty neat. And I think when you grow up in a Western wear and apparel shop, you have no choice but to love cowboy boots. And I think if Jay would have had a choice, he would have loved his boots anyway. And Jay, he wore them everywhere. And you can see the couple pictures here. There's so many more out there. But he wore them with sweats, he wore them with jeans, he wore them with shorts. His mom always reminds me to tell people he wore them with his pajamas, and she'd literally have to take them, off at night. And he wore them all the time. We found a cool picture the other day where his parents sent him to this Korean camp with kids that had got adopted from Korea, and it was a real young kid, probably 5, 6 years old, and she really wanted to share that Korean culture with him so, he could learn that. And there's this awesome picture of like 15 kids there, and they're all in these like pink shirts with these shorts, and Jay's the only one just rocking cowboy boots. It's the coolest thing. And so we're going to hang that one up at Jay's place here soon. This is one of my favorite pictures of Jay and his brother Solon. I always joke with people this is like a nice June day back in Pinedale with all the snow. So no, they're walking to the bus stop there. You can see him in his boots and his cowboy hat, and the Korean cowboy. That's just how he rolled, and pretty cool person. So Jay and I, we were in the same class. We did sports together, life together, got in a little trouble together, just did everything, right? And small community, really close group of friends. You'll see some of these same friends in pictures later on. So Jay we both graduated. That was an accomplishment in itself. I think our teachers were ready for us to go. He went over to the University of Wyoming. I came over here to CSI. And through that time, we stayed really close. And we would talk a lot. We'd go visit. He'd come here. I'd go there. And, he loved the stock market. I loved real estate. So we'd argue a lot about which one was better. Real estate's still better, by the way. And we would talk a lot about entrepreneurship, business. And in 2010, he was in Paige and I's wedding. one of our groomsmen in our wedding, and just some really cool memories around that weekend. A couple years later, he married, this was actually the best man in my wedding, and a few of you have met Cheney. Cheney is one of a kind for sure. And I love sharing this story. I love this picture, but Jay got ordained to do their wedding, and at the very end of it, he said, by the power vested in me, the great state of Wyoming, and www.onlineordained.com, I pronounce you husband and wife. And he just did this beautiful ceremony on a beautiful ranch, but he couldn't help but just sneak that wittiness in, and humor was definitely something he loved. So shortly after that, he moved up to Vancouver, Washington. He got a great job up there. He was a regional sales leader, and to our friend group, to our family, or to his family, he was on top of the world. And these pictures show it. So whether he was on a boat or a horse, he was on top of the world. He loved a snow machine in the winter, and this is our friend group here from back home, and we all thought he was on top of the world. And that all changed in March of 2016. I got a call from my dad, and to this day, it's still the hardest day of my life. And he said, Jason, I don't know how to share this with you, but Jay took his own life last night. And guys, it rocked my world. It changed everything. And I talked to Jay the day before. I talked to him 3 days before. To this day, I live with a lot of regret, for sure. It was really, really hard. So we went back to Pinedale. We went to the funeral, and I shared this with the Magic team recently. It's weird that something good can come out of a funeral, but there was a couple things that were pretty neat looking back on it. And the first one was, it's a small little Catholic church, and it wasn't even standing room only, because the funeral, the people really went out into the street. And it wasn't talked about that day. It wasn't planned. You just knew for Jay and for the Bing family, you were showing up in your cowboy boots. And almost everyone at that funeral, people that normally didn't wear their boots, they wore their cowboy boots that day. And it's an image I'll never forget. It was pretty powerful. We went up to the cemetery. We laid Jay to rest. He's 27 years old. That's not a fun thing to do, is burying your 27-year-old buddy. It was not fun. We went out to his parents' house, and we did the celebration of life. And his sister Tara put together a 32-minute video on all these memories, all these pictures. And I just remember watching it 2 times through. And at the end of that second time, I just looked at my wife, Paige, and I said, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be around people. I don't want to be around this group. I need to be alone. And on the way back into town, the Bing family lives about 10 minutes out of town. I just got to thinking, and I just said, Paige, can you drop me off at the cemetery? I really just need to spend some time there. And so I spent the rest of the afternoon there with my buddy Jay, and right here at this spot. And I just said, dude, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I missed it. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry I was too busy. I was too busy for him that week. He tried to reach out in his own little code and ask for help. He wasn't as transparent as he needed to be, but I didn't slow down and figure out what was going on. And that day right there, I made a commitment to my buddy Jay. And that day I committed to the Jay Foundation. And it was quite a journey to get to where we're at today, and we'll share about that here in a minute. But the whole idea, guys, and the whole thought with the Jay Foundation is, if I could have just bought my buddy Jay a pair of cowboy boots, something he loved so much, we'd had a real conversation around mental health, depression, and suicide, something that's not talked about. And we would have made a couple commitments along the way. I truly feel like Jay would still be with us. And guys, the reality is my buddy Jay, he went and grabbed his pistol and he took his life, right? I just envision that night being different, where he goes and grabs that pistol, he looks down, he sees his Jay boots, and he says, you know what, I'm going to put the gun away tonight, I'm going to put my Jay boots on, I'm going to reach out and I'm going to ask for help, and we're going to have a real conversation. And so when we share that part of the story, we go into the next part, and our favorite part of the Jay Foundation is when we get to buy people their Jay boots. And really in the last 17 months, we've been able to get 4,500 pair of Jay boots on people's feet, which is absolutely incredible. So, yeah, so when we go through that, we talk about what these Jay boots represent, right? So we got to find a pair that looks good, right? So we want people to say, hey, Billy, nice boots. Yeah, let me tell you about these boots, right? We want them to create conversation. There's people that come in, they're like, I have 100 pairs of cowboy boots. Well, get the pair that you would never get right? That's the pair we want you to get because we want people asking. You know, we got to have a pair that's comfortable, right? We want them to actually be worn, and they can't just sit in the back of the closet. For some of you, might know Daquan Montreal. He's one of my good friends. I got Daquan his boots several months ago, and Daquan is 6'9". He's inner city New York. He's probably the last person I thought that would wear cowboy boots, okay? And I come in, bring him in. You know, there's limited sizes when you're a 15 or 16, whatever he is. And we go through, we get him his J boots, and I'm thinking, I don't know if he's ever going to wear these. And again, 6'9", inner city New York, right? Not going to wear these. Next day, he calls me. He says, Jason, my entire adult life, I wanted to be 6'10". It wasn't until I got my J boots I'm finally 6'10". And I love that story. And if you know Daquan, he wears his J boots all the time. But I always share that to share this, guys, is every single one of us is going to have tough days. And on those tough days, we can stand a little bit taller. And I didn't see anyone that's going to stand 6'10" in here today, but we'll stand a little bit taller for sure. But guys, the most important part about a J boot, a J Foundation boot, is it's our reminder that you're loved, that you're valued, that you're needed and wanted here. And no matter how hard life gets, if we ever get in that spot, Jay was in, we put our J boots on, and we reach out and ask for help. And I say this all the time, guys, there is nothing wrong with reaching out and asking for help. And for me, I wish me and my buddy Jay would have been raised in that culture where it was okay to ask for help. So my favorite part is we go through, and grown adults turn into 8-year-olds for a little bit, right? And everyone gets their J boots, and it's just a really cool 15 or 20-minute exercise. There are some groups that take like an hour, hour and a half to pick out boots. You just never know. We had one gal that's like, this is worse than choosing my wedding dress, right? She had more pressure on than her wedding dress. And so each one of those is so cool to see. So we get them their J boots, okay? So really from there, we take groups through and we go to the third chapter of the story. And that's when we really share what we're trying to do with the foundation and how it came about. My friend Callie's in the house today. Callie and I have this crying competition, so I'm trying not to cry today because I want to beat her. But there is a lot of emotion with this. Hopefully I can get through most of this pretty good. But we really go back to the day of the funeral. And the reality, guys, is it didn't just go from commitment to foundation, and here we are. It was a very long, painful process with a lot of hurt. And, you know, in the summer of 2017, I went back to Jay's family, and I just said, hey, here's what that day looked like, and with your permission, I would love to start the Jay Foundation. And I remember Carolyn saying, like, well, what are you thinking? What does it look like? And I said, I have no idea. I know it's on my heart to start it. And she said, all right, well, keep us posted. Let us know what you come up with. And so from there, we did. I went and got the 501(c)(3) paperwork. I started doing strategic visions. You know, we started doing some logos. If you guys go to the foundation and look at some of the original logos, they were really, really bad. They were lost. They were confused. I met with Danny one time, Danny Saltz, and I was like sharing like what I wanted to do with it. And I think she left the room. This was back in like 17 or 18. And I think she left the room thinking, what the heck are you doing? This is brutal. But it was lost. It was confused. It was never going to work. And it was really around fishing. So Jay loved to fish. As a kid, he absolutely loved to fish. And you can see, we joked with Jay that as he got older in life, his fish got smaller. He used to go slay these big old salmon up in Alaska. And then he became a backcountry fly fisherman. He loved to catch grayling. It's like the little hidden gem of Wyoming. And so it was really going to be around fishing. And so it wasn't working, and I couldn't figure it out, and I was spending so much time on it. And really, every time I went back home, I felt like I was letting the Bing family down, I was letting my buddy down, I was letting myself down. And for whatever reason, it was on my heart to take my Title I leadership team back to Wyoming. So we were coming out of COVID. It was the summer of 2021. I'm a big retreat guy. I love to take our leadership teams on retreats and just the impact you can have on a retreat. So we're kind of coming out of that, and I just said, you know what, we need a little bit of a level set here. We need something to re-energize ourselves, and for whatever reason, it was on my heart to take them back to Pinedale, and a few of them are actually here today, which is pretty neat to be able to share this with them. But when we got to Pinedale, you'll see this picture. Our first stop was at my mom's office, and so I got to introduce my leadership team to my mom. Our second stop was to the cowboy shop, and I said, guys, we're going to be in Pinedale. We got to go to the cowboy shop. If we're going to be at the cowboy shop, we got to get you a pair of boots. And so, didn't know it at the time, but those were the first J boots when we look back on it. But I bought this group a pair of cowboy boots. And what happened that day was pretty extraordinary. And so we went back, myself and Jay's parents, with this leadership team, which, by the way, they turned into 8-year-olds as well. Randy Rebel, who's our CFO back here, he's going to hate me for calling him out, but Randy's our CFO, and I have never seen Randy so giddy in his life as when he got his boots. It was the coolest thing ever. Billy was talking about strengths earlier. One of Randy and Ryan's strengths is both deliberative, and so they took like a long time to pick out their boots too, but they got them right, I think. So, but after that was done, we went into the back, and for the first time in 5 years, I shared Jay's story. And the reality is it didn't look like it does today. I just bawled and bawled and bawled. We all did. And 5 years of pain and emotion and hurt, they just all came out that day. And so as we left there, it was pretty powerful. We went up to the ranch. We got on horseback, which was a whole nother treat. If you guys know Jessica Mead, please invite her to go horseback riding any day. She loves it. She's so thrilled when she gets on horseback. But we went up that night, and we were able to just get up into the mountains, get away from technology, and it was just a really special day. It was like that perfect Idaho-Wyoming day that you just don't want to end, right? It's perfect. And that night as I was going to bed, I couldn't sleep, right? So I'm praying, I'm talking to Jay, I'm like, what the heck just happened today? There's something there. And as weird as this sounds, this phrase of boot check your boots, boot check your boots, it just kept coming to my mind. And wrote it down, finally went to sleep, and next morning it was still there. And I'm like, what the heck is this boot check? And so we had about a 3 or 4 hour work session that morning, and just right before lunch, I looked at my leaders and I said, hey guys, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I said, I just want us to stop what we're doing, and anytime I say it's boot check time, we're just going to stop what we're doing and we're going to call somebody. And I really talked to them about if I had one call to do over, it would have been to Jay, and it would have looked a lot different. And who is your one call that you want to make? And so maybe this is somebody you haven't talked to for a while. Maybe it's somebody that's hurting or healing or whatever it may be. Just call whoever's on your heart. And so this is actually a picture of the first ever boot check phone call. So these are 2 of my leaders. I don't know why I took that picture that day, but it's kind of cool to get the first ever boot check call. And what we saw with this exercise is, I thought it was going to be about a 5-minute exercise with one call. One call turned into 2, 2 turned into 3, and about 45 minutes later, we saw the power of just slowing down and checking in. It was amazing just to see the simple impact there, especially coming out of COVID, right, where there's just so much different stuff going on. And so you could really feel something coming out of that week. But it wasn't until several weeks later I got a call from one of my leaders. And he said, Jason, I want to share a story about the power of these boots. And he said it that way. I'll never forget that. He said, the power of these boots. He said, for the first time since Wyoming, I put my boots on with my family. And they're making fun of him, right? He normally doesn't wear cowboy boots. And they're saying, what are you doing wearing boots? You're not a cowboy. Why are you wearing those? And he said, well, I want to share a story about a guy named Jay, and I want to share a story about these boots. And within several minutes, his 13-year-old daughter opened up about how she had 2 suicide notes in her room. And he said, Jason, we had no idea. This created a conversation that would have never happened. These boots saved my daughter's life. And at that point, we knew that all it took was a trip back home to the cowboy shop, and all that was missing was something Jay loved so much, a simple cowboy boot. And so I went up to Sun Valley. I spent some time building out the Jay Foundation. So I'm going to go through that with you guys and kind of what we're doing and what this looks like with core values. We've heard that a lot today. You're going to see our why, our core values, our strategic anchors. I encourage you guys in your businesses, in your life, lean into those core values, lean into your why. They're so powerful when you can really articulate those personally or with a foundation or a Title I, right? And we are passionate about our core values. So why do we exist, guys? So we exist to create boot check moments, right? So what is a boot check moment? A boot check moment can be a simple phone call like I shared from my leaders. We've had those boot check moments, and those calls turn into just some amazing things. A boot check moment can be when somebody goes home in their boots. It can be where if they normally don't wear boots, somebody's going to say, what the heck are you doing, right? It creates a boot check moment. I want to share a story because we've got a couple people here visiting with us. I was up at a wedding in Montana, and the the parents of the groom said, hey, we've got some family members, we'd really like to get them their J boots. So we went the morning of the wedding, early, we went to Murdoch's, and we got this family, we're going to get this family their J boots. And one of the groom's friends happened to be there, and she's here with us today. She's from Colorado. And we saw her there, so we're like, hey, why don't you just come join this group, right? She's like, well, what the heck are we doing? Don't worry about it, just come join the group. So we're in Murdoch's in Kalispell, Montana. And we go through and we share and we get everyone their J boots. And Eshy, who's like I said here from Colorado, she goes out to New York and she has her J boots on. And as you can imagine, back east wearing cowboy boots probably going to create some conversation. And that led to having a conversation with her friend, Corinne, who's with us here visiting from back east this week. And so when we talk about boot check moments, that's an example. And there's so many more, guys. I mean, we sit there at the foundation, we've ripped up suicide notes. We've had people literally buy a gun ready to take their life that night, and they just happened to get their boots that day. Some of the stories are just absolutely incredible, but it's really just through the power of these boots. The magic boot. So our core values, I really put up like 16 or 17 characteristics of who I thought my buddy Jay was, but also how I wanted the foundation to behave. And as I narrowed those down to 4, it came out where it was bold, inclusive, nimble, generous. And what was neat about that is it spelled Jay's last name, Being. So we got to be bold. Guys, the reality is from Montana, Idaho, down to Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming being number 1 where I'm from, the highest rate of suicide happens right here in the West. So they call it Suicide Alley, the Suicide Belt. Every once in a while, West Virginia will be in there too. But they really attribute that to a couple different things, but one of those is the cowboy way of life, the Western way of life, right? Like we cowboy up and we hold it in. We cowboy up and we get through it. And there's so many great things about the cowboy way of life, and the foundation, we try to bring a lot of those in. But the one thing we're trying to change with the cowboy way of life is, no, we're going to put our boots on and we're going to have some bold conversations around mental health, depression, and suicide. And the reality is the West, our community, we have a real issue. Right? That bridge is a light in one way, but it's a dark, dark place in another. Right? We've got some major issues with this, not only in our community, but really throughout the country. So we're going to have bold conversations. You'll see inclusive. So Jay was one of those guys that he just loved up on all people. And it was amazing to see at his funeral, you know, all these people in their cowboy boots, and you had every belief, every race, every religion. It did not matter. They were just there. And you had Christians hugging atheists that never got along. Guess what? They got along that day, right? He had this amazing ability to unite people. And really, that's what we're trying to do with the J Foundation, is just if we could turn off, and if there's any politicians in the room, I'm sorry, if we could turn off Fox News and CNN and turn off politicians for a minute, world would probably be a better place. And that's what we're trying to do at the foundation, is just be inclusive. Our goal one day is that every single person in the Magic Valley has gone through the J Foundation, has gotten their J boots, and we can truly slow down as a community, as a valley, and check in on each other, right? So that's the goal. Nimble. So you got to be nimble. For us, we live this one every single day at the foundation. The reality is the work we're doing, we have to be nimble. We just never know who's going to come to us with what, and so you got to be nimble. Tomorrow I have to go to Boise for a very tough situation tomorrow evening to help some friends out with one, and it's just being nimble. For me, if Jay would have called and said, Jason, I'm going to be bold and I'm going to tell you exactly where I'm at, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, I got to be nimble enough to be in Vancouver, Washington that quick. I've lived my life a lot more nimbly since he passed. And then generous. So back in 2017, I put $100 in a bank account, and it just sat and sat and sat. For 5 years, it just sat there. And last year, on May 7th, we had our big auction. And on May 9th, woke up and we had over $1 million in our bank account. And it was the greatest night of generosity I've ever seen. It was pretty dang incredible. And what that did, and that generosity did, is it allowed us to get 4,500 pairs of J boots on people's feet, have 4,500 conversations that wouldn't happen. But it also allowed us to open up Jay's Place. And so Jay's Place is owned by the foundation, and it's a pretty amazing building. We're just getting going. There's going to be some cool things that happen over the next year or two there. We're still very new. We're only 14, 15 months really where we've been up and going. So there's our core values. Again, I'm going to encourage you, if you're a business leader, if you're a nonprofit, just personally really lean into your core values. You know, at Title I, our core values are humble, hungry, healthy. And we pressure test those all the time, and we really try to live by them. No company's perfect, but humble, hungry, healthy are our three from Title I. If you know your personal core values, that's even more powerful, is when you really figure out those personal core values. So core values are a big one. So I get asked a lot, like, what do we do at the J Foundation? So there's really three components of what we do. Our primary focus and what we really want to do is bring awareness, right? So we want to bring awareness to a topic that historically has been taboo to talk about. We don't talk about it, right? And we'll talk about our knee pain or our butt pain or our ankle pain, but we don't talk about our brain pain, right? And our brain pain is the most powerful pain. And for me, when I heard that one time, somebody's like, well, why don't you talk about your brain pain? I'm like, that's a great question. I'll say, hey, my ankle hurts, my back hurts, but this pain's pretty powerful, right? So we got to bring awareness to a really important topic. The second part is prevention. So the reality is there's a lot of people that come in a crisis situation to the J Foundation, and we're not equipped to fully handle everything that gets thrown our way, but we do have a full-time counselor on site, and she works with people. She's working with about 20 people right now that have come through the J Foundation to get their boots and have either had suicidal ideation, have attempted take their life, or have somebody in their life that has. And so hopefully we'll be able to build out more crisis resources there. We are not a suicide hotline. That is not our goal, is to call in and be able to talk through those situations. We're not equipped. We refer people to the 988 number. If it's a super crisis at night, we get those calls, but we try to really get those off to the 988 number there. And then, guys, healing. So for me, my healing didn't start until we got going with the J Foundation. And through the foundation and through J Boots, there's been a lot of healing for a lot of different people. It's been pretty powerful to see. All right, so for those that know me, know I'm corny, but I like these three. These are all super corny. But how we're going to succeed. So really our strategic anchors of the foundation. You'll see here, raise bootloads of money. So where does our money go? It goes to our boots, our boot fund. Boots aren't cheap, and our goal is to get a lot more boots out there, so we got to raise bootloads of money for that. Our staff, so my wife Paige and I volunteer at the foundation. My day job at Title I keeps me plenty busy, but we volunteer. But we do have an amazing executive director, Jamie. She's here with us today, and we have a full-time staff that is really there each and every day to serve the community. Our retreats. So this summer and last summer, we do 13 different retreats back in Wyoming. We actually have a neighbor's ranch that we lease out from them that's set up perfectly for retreats. And we take anywhere from teens to counselors to teachers. The most powerful week is our week or two that we do with families that have lost loved ones. And so we take our counselor back for those, and we really go through what that process looks like. We sell a couple of those off to businesses to really help fund that. Billy and his team went back last summer, and I don't want to tell you that they went up on a horse. Well, how should I share this story? I better be careful. So we take each group up horseback riding, right? None of these guys had horseback ride. It's like, I think one guy had ever gotten a horse. And so this is a pretty energetic, great culture, right? These guys are like this for like the first 30 minutes of this trip. But what was really cool about that is, when we got back, the guides, they said, we've never seen anyone strip down to their underwear and jump into this water. It's super cold up here. And his whole team did it, right? So when we talk about culture, you didn't put stripping down to your underwear and jumping in the lake, right? That's a big part of it too. So, but no, guys, the retreats are super powerful and really life-changing back there. And then our building. So the reality is we still have a $2 million loan on our building, so we got some work to do to chip away at that. When you'll see spend time in the saddle, I gave you one example. Our retreats, we had over 200 people get on horseback last year. It's pretty powerful to get people on horseback and just disconnect from technology and really get away. I would say like every group came back. One, they got over a fear, a lot of them, but also just re-energized, rejuvenated. So it's pretty cool there. But we challenge people too, when you're in your J boots, when you're cowboy boots, put technology away and try to spend time in the saddle with people around you. Be present with those around you. Okay? And then our last one, we got to rope as many as we can in. And this can be as extreme as going full-time with the foundation. It can be just wearing one's boots proudly. It can be anywhere in between, right? It's cooking a meal. It's dusting boots. It's whatever it is, right? There's so many different ways. And we're really trying to figure out, like, what are people's passions and how can we pull those in to the foundation to give them purpose, right? And so when we talk about people, purpose, passion, and I do a lot of work with the 5 Ps. I'll share what my 5 are here in a little bit, but so many people, guys, over the last 3, 4, 5 years have lost their passion and they don't understand their purpose, right? They don't know their why. And so we're really trying to bring people into the foundation and help, inspire that and help them find that. All right, our top priority right now, and this one just recently changed, we're very excited about this. So what was cool at our auction is we have what we call a boot pledge. And so people can raise their hand and they can donate anywhere from $200 all the way up to whatever they want to donate, right? And what's neat about this boot pledge is they get to dictate, our donors get to dictate where they want that money to go. And so they can have it go to high school senior boots, they can have it go to crisis, they can go have it healing, they can have it favorite sports team, their business, wherever they want it to go. And we were able to do about $500,000 in our boot pledge last Saturday night or 2 Saturdays ago. So it's really cool. But what's neat about this is through our boot pledge, we were able to raise about $240,000 to get high school seniors their boots. And our goal is to get to $300,000, and that'll allow us to get Twin Falls County, Jerome County, Gooding County, Lincoln County, and then back in Wyoming, Sublette County. So that $300,000 mark will allow us to get high school senior J boots for every senior in those areas. So that's going to be a really cool initiative this September, October. So that'll be about 1,600 students. What's really neat too is we actually had some support there that said, hey, I want mine to go to Declo, or I want mine to go here, right? And so I don't know how many senior J boots we're going to do this fall, but it'll be pretty powerful to see. And that's really our top priority, is not only to get the rest of that funded, but also how do we logistically orchestrate 1,600 kids coming from all over, getting through Jay's place, sharing the story. I mean, there's a lot of logistics to that, but should be pretty powerful. All right, so guys, before we go into a tool that we built out at the foundation, I want to share a quick video, and the timing, this wasn't by design, it was just kind of cool how it happened, but the foundation a few weeks ago, we got to work with Magic and MVE and their team, and if you drove by at 7 a.m. or 5 at night, we were there at 7 a.m. and 5 at night for 7 straight working days getting their team their J boots, and I just want to thank Billy and team. They were our first boot check certified business, and they were able to buy 212 of their team members their J boots and really make that investment into their team, into the foundation. And we're super excited to build out our boot check certified business, and it's going to be pretty neat. But hopefully this video, if we can get it up, will show you what that looks like.
I'm Billy Saltz with Magic Valley Electric and Magic Services.
I'm Jason Vickerey, president over at Title I and visionary/founder of the J Foundation here.
Today we're kicking off a pretty awesome journey.
We're really excited to announce that Billy's going to be our first boot check certified business here.
We are taking our entire team through Jay's place to do a tour and to get their J boots, and we can't be more excited.
The J Foundation story, it really starts back in small town Pinedale, Wyoming. One of my best friends, his name was Jim J. Young, later became J. Bob Bing, so he was adopted from Korea. Jay and I were in the same class together, so we did sports together, we did life together, we did just about everything. The Bing family for the last 75 years has owned the cowboy shop in Pinedale. He just loved his boots. He wore them everywhere. So he wore them with jeans, he wore them with shorts, he wore them with sweats. Carolyn, his mom, always reminds me to tell people he wore them to bed in his pajamas. He went off to University of Wyoming. I came over here to CSI. You know, from the outside, he was on top of the world. He had great friends, great future, and for us, we thought he was just in a great spot. In March of 2016, I got a call from my dad. He just said, Jason, I don't know how to share this with you, but Jay took his own life last night. It rocked my world. I mean, it changed everything. It's weird to say something good comes out of a funeral, On the way back into town, I just said, hey, can you drop me off at the cemetery? And I just spent the afternoon with Jay. That day right there at the cemetery, I made a commitment to my buddy Jay. And my commitment was that something great, something amazing, something transformational was going to come from this tragedy. The whole idea and the whole thought behind the Jay Foundation is if I could have just bought my buddy Jay a pair of cowboy boots and we'd have had a real conversation around mental health, depression, and suicide, I truly feel like he'd still be with us. The most important part about a Jay boot is it's your reminder that you're loved, that you're valued, that you're needed and wanted here. No matter how hard things get, if we ever get to that spot Jay was in, and we've got friends, we've got family, we've got an amazing company, right? We put our Jay boots on and we reach out for help. And there's nothing wrong with reaching out for help. Friends of the Jay Foundation, if you'd like to learn more on how you can become a Boot Check certified business, please reach out to Jamie Shetler at jamie@jfoundation.com or visit our website at www.jfoundation.com. With every pair of boots comes a conversation that would have never happened. Let's start those conversations with you and your team today.
Yeah, a round of applause for Billy and his team for putting that together. It was cool when Billy said, hey, I need to figure out a way how do you share the story? How do you, essentially an elevator speech. And he said, do you mind if I just bring my crew in and then I can just send this video? And so it's been cool for us to have this week. And, even I had a chance to speak to the University of Dayton men's basketball coach yesterday. And he lost his daughter. She was 20 years old, beautiful gal, star athlete. He lost her to suicide. And it's coming up on the 1-year anniversary. And we sent him his boots in the mail back in February. And hadn't heard from him, hadn't heard anything. And he called me yesterday. And so we got a really cool conversation, and I said, hey, I'm going to send you a video that will help explain this a little better. And so I sent that to Coach Grant yesterday, and it was so cool just to be able to have that interaction, that video. Guys, when we look at our top priority being high school seniors, right behind that is going to be Boot Check certified businesses, and to be able to really invest in your team and have real conversations. I think we're up to 14 or 15 since Monday when we released this that have said, hey, yeah, we're in. We want to come by our team, their J boots, and go through the story. So Magic, thanks for being a leader there for sure. It's awesome. All right, so I want you guys to pull out your phones real quick. And we'll just have you guys, I'll get out of the way here. If you want to get that QR, and then you can pick an avatar. Pizza sounds good right now, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. They told me in rehearsal to do that, and then I forgot, so my apologies. All right, we'll give it just a few more seconds here. Everyone good over here? All right, so guys, this is a cool tool we built out at the foundation, and early on what we saw is, here we are, we're getting people their J boots, we're really challenging them to check in on others, but the reality is there were so many people that came through that weren't checking on themselves, myself included. And so, but what we heard as we were talking to people and we're just really asking a lot of questions is I don't want this super complicated 188-page or questionnaire evaluation. How do I just have something that's simple that I can just really see where I'm at in my life? And so we built what we called the self-boot check. And the idea with the self boot check is within about 30 seconds to a minute, you can work around the horn here, and you can really say, am I red, am I yellow, or am I green, right? So if red is like, man, I'm struggling there, I need some help. Yellow is like, yeah, I'm doing good, some days are good, some days are not, but I'm okay, right? And green is like, hey, I'm on fire, I'm crushing it there right now. So built this tool out last summer, and I went through it, and I was like, all right, where's my mental health? I'm green, doing good there. My relationships, I'm green, I'm doing there. I'm like, yeah, I'm off to a great start, right? 2 for 2. Well, then I go through, like, this is like playing Blue Lakes, number 3 and 4. If you ever play Blue Lakes, like, you got to get through this part right here. Movement was a red, nutrition was a red, sleep was a red. So here I am, the guy trying to lead a company, trying to lead a foundation, trying to lead a family, and 3 out of my first 5 are red, right? Finished a little stronger with spiritual, creativity, and financial, but I really had to start going to work on some things with myself, right? And so the self-boot check's a really cool tool. This is only the second time we've done this, so hopefully it works well. But what we're going to do, guys, is we're just going to go through each of these, and we're going to see where this room is, okay? So this isn't going to show like, hey, Lex, he's in green here, he's in red here, right? This isn't going to show your name and your results here. I don't have some like a data behind that I'm going to call you and say, hey, I see you in red, right? Like this is going to be completely anonymous, and we'll just go through it. But we'll really get to see where are the leaders in our community from a self-boot check standpoint, okay? So if you look at your phones, you should see this come through. So our first one, we're going to look at mental health, okay? Do you have healthy thoughts, emotions, and ability to deal with life's challenges? Do you maintain a high self-esteem and strong self-image? Can you respond resiliently to emotional states and the flow of life every day? Can you deal with a variety of situations realistically? Do you take responsibility for your own behavior? Accountability is such a big one here. Can you look to the future with enthusiasm rather than dread? Do you approach each day with a presumption that things will go well? All right. So green, I'm crushing it, doing great. Yellow, I'm okay. Red, not doing well. Okay, so the mental health of this room is pretty dang good, really. So we've got 80 people, almost 50 people in yellow. The reality is we've got 2 or 3 people that right now with their mental health are in the red, right? So we've got leaders in this room that are not in a good spot there. This is a great result, guys. Not every, and we demoed this a little bit, even just talking through it, but mental health, to see it this overwhelming green, kudos. That is awesome to see with this group. Okay, let's look at relationships. I'll let you guys read them there for a second. That's okay. All right, let's see where we're at. This is a healthy group, guys. 92 in green, 32 in yellow, 4 in red. Okay, pretty great results there. All right, let's move over to movement. There she is. I was joking for a while, like my nutrition and movement weren't even red, they were just dark black. Like, there's a whole nother color. Okay, so we got some work to do there. 34, kudos to you guys. Got 24 in the middle, and then we're majority are red here. All right, let's go to nutrition. Oh, too fast? Does it not let you, when I move over, does it not let you? Okay, sorry about that. Does that get you back there? Okay. Sorry, I was thinking it stayed there. Give you just one more minute. All right, so okay there. Still 45 that are in the red, right, with nutrition. I probably shouldn't have done this right before lunch because there's going to be a little guilt on what we eat for lunch today. Probably should have done it after, but maybe we'll do some salads today at lunch. Can I pick on you, Jamie, with this? Yeah, so Jamie Shetler, who is our executive director, she's amazing. We can give a round of applause for Jamie, yeah. So it's a big part of our culture at the foundation. You'll hear like, oh, movement's a green or creativity's a green or whatever. And Jamie and I have this joke with nutrition, and hers isn't even red or yellow or green, it's just Chick-fil-A. Like, that's it. And so loves Chick-fil-A, and she's like, you know what, I'm not ready to work on it yet. I am good with Chick-fil-A, and when the day comes, but we have this big joke around nutrition with Chick-fil-A. I'm a Culver's guy, so we argue back and forth there. But got some work to do there as a group, right? All right, sleep. Sleep influences your productivity, emotional balance, brain and heart health, immune function, creativity, vitality, and even your weight. No other activity delivers so many benefits with so little effort. Do you get at least 7 hours of sleep a night on average? Oh, probably a little better than I would have thought, to be honest with you. But still, we got 22 people that are in that red. So, but pretty good results for sleep, really. So, I'm going to pause right here on this one, guys. So, I was talking to a guy up in Boise, and he's a counselor up there. He's one of the most well-known guys in the valley, really in the state. And he said, Jason, like, love what you're doing with the mission. He said, I don't want to oversimplify this, but I'm going to oversimplify it. If people are getting 1 hour of movement a day, they're putting the right things in their body, both with nutrition, drugs, alcohol, and they're getting 7 hours of sleep a day, the reality is it doesn't take suicide away, but the chances of suicide go way, way down. And so these three, that was eye-opening to me because all three of mine were red, and it was pretty amazing to see. But I would say really try to lean into these three. There's so many studies out there. I've definitely got a couple of mine out of the red. Nutrition's probably still not there, but we're working on that one. All right, let's go over to spiritual, okay? So do you possess a set of guiding beliefs, principles, or values that give you meaning to your life? Do you develop and have a purpose in life? Pretty powerful word there today, purpose. Do you focus on the positive aspects of life? Spiritual balance can be found through meditation, nature, good works, loved ones, or religion. Can you explain what and why you believe what you do? Do you practice the power of pause and eliminate hurry? Do you practice forgiveness and compassion in life? Do you care for the welfare of others and the environment? Do you use technology to feed your mind in a healthy way? All right, so pretty dang good results there. Still 8 out there, though, that really, let's go dive into that purpose, right? But that's an awesome result, 72 and 56. All right, we got 2 more here. So creativity, do you acknowledge that change is inevitable? Do you welcome new experiences? Do you think outside the box? Do you have hobbies, skills, etc., that bring a sense of joy and purpose in your life to help shape your future? Guys, I would say out of the 3 P's today, like passion and creativity go hand in hand, right? When you find your passion, that's when you get really creative and you get in the green here. Yeah, I thought that one would be pretty high green with this group for sure, but still 12 of us out there, right? Okay. All right, last one, financial. Do you have balance between living a healthy state of well-being today while preparing financially for tomorrow? Is your perspective not necessarily about being wealthy, but rather a state of psychological well-being in which you feel you have control over your current finances and financial future? Do you live within your means? Yeah. So this one, guys, is one we see a lot in the red when we're doing one-on-one type stuff. And I would say with inflation, with keeping up with the Joneses, with cost of living, with kids, right? There's a lot of factors here, I would say, especially with males, right? So males more than females here. We're seeing this pressure to provide, this pressure to, have what the neighbor has, or give my kids this, or do that, and that all falls on us. Not every time with males, but the males definitely own that one more. And so I'd encourage you here, like, don't hold this one in. We see a lot of people take their lives because of this one, right? I can't get out of it. I can't ever provide. I can't go do the work on this one. There's people that can help you. We're building out some pretty cool resources and partnerships with this one, but we're seeing this one outside of nutrition, movement, and sleep. This is definitely number 4 on red. So, all right, so there's a self-boot check. I'd love to hear maybe if 2 or 3 of you are vulnerable enough to share, like, what's your takeaway or what are your thoughts with that exercise? And please, not all at once. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, you're never alone, right? Never alone. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, for me, it was a slap in the face, right? It was like, all right, I got to get to work a little bit here, and sometimes it can be that. So, cool. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's like, I don't know if you can ever get all green, but if you can imagine a life where we're all green, even if it's just for about 5 seconds, like, how cool would that be? But, if that's the goal, at least, to get somewhere, that can be pretty special for us. So that's cool. Any others? I thought I saw 1 or 2 more hands. Okay. Well, it's a really cool tool. We're going to use that with all of our boot check certified businesses, really being able to, just give a business and leadership a snapshot of just where their teams are at. We're even building this out, hopefully, and we haven't talked to the schools a lot yet, but hopefully we'll be able to use this tool in the schools and, with our youth too, which should be pretty powerful. All right, so there's a little bit. Let me get out of this. All right, so we're going to pivot a little bit, guys, and I'm going to share just kind of my leadership offense today, okay? And a big part of my leadership offense really revolves around self-leadership, and I think self-leadership is the most important thing out there for a leader. And as we go through this, you'll see some P's that are going to really be aligned with what we're doing today with purpose, passion, people. I've got a couple others that I'm going to high level. And really for you VIPs, like, let's give them a round of applause, their investment, their time commitment to this. Let's give them a round of applause real quick. So what's neat about this is today's going to be very high level overview of the mountain journey. But when we do VIP night and later this year, we'll take a deep dive into this and really allow you guys to spend some time on the mountain journey, and hopefully you'll see some other takeaways. So today's going to be very high level. That's by design for this group. Can't wait to take the deep dive with you guys a little bit later. So really, guys, as I've been going through leadership, there's a lot of different things that I've learned over the years. And I'm still young in leadership, whether it's Title I, whether it's the foundation, whether it's, putters mini golf is probably one of my favorite things. I'm a partner over there, and that was a childhood dream that came to life. And so no matter what we're leading, there's a journey through it. And I love mountains, guys. I've got 2 left to do here in Idaho, but I've climbed 7 out of the 9 12ers here in Idaho. And if you've ever climbed a mountain, there's just something special about it. I haven't climbed Everest. I want to get Kilimanjaro one day, but it's just super powerful, the journey from when you start to when you get to the top. And so for me, I really wanted to build out a leadership offense that I was passionate about, that I could really draw on. And again, we run a version of this at Title I. It's a little bit different there, but it really starts with self-leadership, guys. And that's You know, it's our job to make sure that we're equipped as leaders to lead ourselves and our teams up our mountains, right? And so we talk about this a lot. As leaders, it's our job to make sure we're equipped to lead our teams up that mountain, all right? So we'll go into self-leadership a little bit today. Okay, then we actually pop up to paint the picture. And this is probably my favorite. I think self-leadership is the most important. Paint the picture is probably my favorite because this is where vision comes in. Creating vision for your company, for your team, for your family, for yourself. Vision is so important, right? And to be able to articulate that vision. You know, for me as a young leader, it used to be where I had this vision in my head, but I didn't know how to articulate it, right? And it wasn't until I started to understand how I could articulate our vision that things really changed for me as a leader. You know, at Title I, it was like, hey, I've got this vision, but when we really simplified it and put it on paper, we can say, hey, this is our vision. This is the mountain we're climbing at Title I, and it's super powerful. So you got to paint that picture, all right? I share people all the time, like, you want to make sure that's a picture that of a mountain that your team wants to follow you up, right? We can't paint a picture that nobody wants to follow us on, right? So paint the picture is so important. And then we pop back down to build your team. So I have people ask me all the time, like, Jason, how do you know, with your job at Title I, your real estate investments, putters, J Foundation, like, how do you do all of that? And really, I built the right team. We built the right team. And my goal, guys, is I want to hire people that are so much better than me that nobody knows who I am. Like, I absolutely love that concept, but also, like, I want to be the least talented person in my partnership. I want to be the least talented person in my YPO group. I want to be the least talented person there because guess what? Through those guys that are more talented than me, I'm going to get better, right? They're going to push and stretch me. And so I've really tried to look at that. Like, I want the smallest house in the neighborhood type deal with my leadership style, right? And I want people around me that can make me better. And that's what we've done with our teams. We've got amazing teams, and we talk about it all the time. That everything I'm involved in, how do we become the best team, right? When somebody says, hey, what's the best team you've ever been a part of? I hope they say, yeah, it's that team that I was on with Jason, right? That's the goal. Game plan. And so this is, there's a fire here for a reason. Some of our best ideas at Title I with our senior leadership team have literally been at 10 o'clock at night around a campfire, right? And when Billy asked, we go more glamping than camping at Title I sometimes, but we game plan and we sit there and we just have conversation around a fire. And I'm not kidding, some of our best, biggest ideas have come from just being in that campfire setting. So the game plan is really like the strategy side, right? So you got to really lean into that strategy, right? And really focus on that. We've got some amazing leaders that our CFO, Randy, he's probably the most strategic CFO I've ever met, and he just loves that strategy, right? So you got to have good leaders that can lead into that strategy side, but also get creative on where you're spending that time thinking. If it's just in the office, it's another day, you're probably not going to get those juices flowing to really think strategy. Like, get out of the office, get off site, go retreat, and that's where the good stuff will happen. Guide and direct. So really, this is the concept of working in versus working on, right? And so if you can picture this mountain journey, there's times where as we're going through that forest, we have to really be in the forest with our teams, right? We're working in the business, all right? There's times where we have to get up top and we have to direct, right? So we might have to climb up on top of the trees and say, hey, you guys, we need to go this way, or there's a cliff here, or there's a fire, whatever it is, right? Guiding and directing, working on versus working in the business. I would say if you're the president or CEO and owner of a company, working on, you should be working on the business way more than anyone else in the organization. And I think for me, the blessing I have at Title I is, I get to work on the business all the time, right? I got a leadership team that very rarely do I have to go work in the business. And with the foundation, we're really getting there too, where I can work on it. For a minute there, it was working in, right? It was just Jamie and I, really, for the first year. And so we had to work in it. But as a leader, when you can get to where you're working on your business, it'll change everything. It's pretty incredible when you get there. All right, so that's guide and direct. Be the buffalo. So one of my good friends, he's a leader at Title I. He's got this mantra about being the buffalo. And the buffalo is the only animal, the bison is the only animal that runs into the storm, right? So when a big storm comes, bison, buffalo, they herd together and they run through the storm. And it's the only animal that does that. Even humans, right? When it starts to rain or snow, most times we go duck. We go into the house, we find a cave back in there, whatever it is. And the whole idea with the Be the Buffalo is when things get hard, right, when they're tough, when that storm's coming, we want to run through it. So I want you guys to think this session is like true leadership. This is the hard stuff, right? This is crucial conversations. This is maybe terminations. This is like looking in the mirror and really pressure testing your core values. This is going through and say, hey, are we going to progressively collapse here, right? We might look healthy right now, but where are we going to be in 2 or 3 years? You know, a lot of the great sports teams, I'm a big Lakers fan. If you look at Shaq and Kobe, right, like if they would have just really looked in the mirror and they would have, you know, be the Buffalo through that whole thing, they would have won so many more championships, but they didn't, right? And this one is here at the river for a reason. This is where you're getting ready for the final stretch of your mountain journey. You're going to have to make some decisions there. And the reality is not everyone's going to want to climb up that mountain with you. And that's okay. That's okay for the person. That's okay for the company. But this Be the Buffalo, this is where you really got to decide who do you want on your team, but who wants to be on your team, right? That one is so, so important, and that one's going to be a fun one for us to dive into as a group too. All right, so you come out of that, you come out of the storm, you get across the river, and this is where it gets really fun. Because as a leader, you get to step back, and you just get to stretch your best people, and you get to let them run. And this is so much fun. I love this part of leadership, is when you get through that storm, and it's like, all right, here we go. And it's like climbing a mountain in four-wheel drive with your sticks, your walking sticks, right? Like it's pretty cool. This is very hard for some leaders. It was hard for me at first. You got to let go during this, okay? So you're going to follow your team from there to the base of the mountain, right? So you got to be willing to let go of some stuff and really let them run. And there's going to be some mistakes. We might get off the trail for a minute, but you got to stretch your best. You got to give them opportunities to go. All right, and then summit your mountain, right? So this is that last 1,000 feet, this last 800 feet. How do we get to the top, and how do we stay there? And then how we all know that there's a false mountain in leadership right behind it, right? So we talk about getting up that last 1,000 feet. If you've ever climbed Bora, that last 800 to 1,000 feet is the real deal. You get out Chicken Out Ridge and you have to climb this. It's pretty crazy. But how do we get there? How do we stay there? And then how do we get ready for the next summit? Because the reality is that mountain is a false summit, right? There's always going to be another one behind it. Mia Hamm, amazing soccer player, female soccer player back in the day, and she always would say with the U.S. women's national team, it was easy to get there. It was really hard to stay on top. And our goal is like, how do we stay on top of those mountains and just keep climbing bigger ones, right? Okay. So that's the mountain journey, very high level, but hopefully gives you guys a little overview. The self-leadership part of this, right? So D. Hawk, this is one of my favorite quotes. Self-leadership is hard, so hard that most leaders avoid it. Instead, leaders would rather inspire or control our people than do the rigorous work of reflection. So D. Hawk, he was the founder of, he's actually an Ogden, Utah guy, Weber State guy. He was with Visa, and he built this incredible company, and he just was an amazing leader. But he was a master of the art of self-leadership. And when I saw this quote one time, it just hit me right in between the teeth, because it was like, every leader I know, including myself, like this part right here, inspire or control our people rather than do the rigorous work of reflection. Anyone ever done that? Yeah, a few of us. Yeah, it's hard to do the self-leadership stuff. It's tough, and it is a journey. You got to be committed to it, and you got to dive deep into it, and it is hard. It's way easier just to go lead, inspire, control our teams, right? That's the easy thing to do. All right, so through our self-leadership journey, we focus on, you heard Billy talk about DISC. There's a lot of different ones out there. At Title I, we use Gallup, which has been really impactful for us. Within the mountain journey, we're going to use Enneagram. All those are great. And just find a tool you love and a strengths tool you love, and really, just like Billy said today, lean into it and commit to it. We go through the self-boot check, which you guys got to go through there, really check in and see where people are and companies are, and then the 5 Ps and the challenge. So I'm going to go through, I'm not going to take a deep dive into Enneagram. Again, this is one that if you want to learn more, it's a super powerful tool. If you're in a marriage or with your kids and they're a little bit older, Enneagram has really changed Paige and I's marriage. To be able to understand your spouse has been really, really neat. I'll give you just kind of a little overview here, an example. So I'm a 3, wing 2, which I won't get into all of that, but I'm a 3. So in a healthy growth state, I'm very cooperative and I'm committed, right? But you can see where I go when I'm stressed or unhealthy. right? And that's me. I get to where I'm disengaged. I go back. I don't want to be like, when I am not in a healthy spot, it is totally me. And so it's really interesting. My wife's a 2, so she is very strong in 2, and so self-nurturing and emotional aware, dominating and aggressive. Don't tell her I said that, but when she's stressed and unhealthy, she probably peaks in there a little bit every once in a while. And so when we started figuring out that together as a couple, it really did change everything, and we're able to see that. And it's really like having the answers to the test. It's so stinking cool to go through it. So a lot of cool stuff there. This is where we go through the self-boot check tool that we just talked to you guys about. And then the 5 Ps, okay? So these are the 5 Ps. Again, when Carrie reached out and she said, hey, here's kind of what we're thinking this year, purpose, passion, people, it was like I was working on this project. I'm like, oh, now I got to get it ready, Carrie. Like she gave me a deadline, you know, and so it really was good. I want to give a shout out to Reinhard. So I don't think Corey's here today, Corey and Andy, but Corey over at Reinhard, he's helped really help me put my vision on paper for the mountain journey. And so, and just them being here today, let's give those guys a round of applause for all they're doing too. So purpose, passion, people. Again, VIP group will take a deep dive into this. We won't today. Guys, my purpose is to be a leader, be a light. And I want to share a quick story. When you know your purpose, everything can change, okay? Everything can change. And I want to give you one story. This is my 7-year-old, Haley. And Haley's the most difficult kid we have out of our 4. And matter of fact, when we divide kids up, it's 3 and 1. Somebody takes Haley, somebody takes the other 3, because she's just tough. She's a tough kid. But we were at a CSI game, and they asked us to speak about the J Foundation. And I didn't really want to speak about J. I don't like to be in public settings. Even today, I don't love this, right? As far as like getting up, I'm a pretty introverted person, and so it's one like that I don't love to get out and speak in front of a bunch of people. But I was going to have Jamie do it. I said, hey, Jamie, would you speak in front of CSI? And they came over there and said, Jason, we'd really like to have you speak. And my 7-year-old daughter was there, and she was just looking up to me. And she said, well, Dad, can you go speak? Can I go with you? Can I go with you? And Haley and I have a hard time connecting. We don't connect very well. And in that moment, I knew my purpose. And I said, Jason, you got to be a leader. You got to be a light. You got to be a leader, be a light. I say it every morning when I wake up, be a leader, be a light. And somebody sent me that picture later that night, and it's one of my favorite pictures ever, because right there I was serving my purpose. And it wasn't for the J Foundation. It wasn't for the crowd at CSI. My 7-year-old daughter got to see me be a leader, be a light. And that's something that we didn't connect on very much, right? And so I love this picture. But when you understand your purpose, it changes everything, right? It changes everything. So if you can't articulate it, I challenge you, dive into it, do the work, find it, right? When you get that purpose, it changes everything. We go through core values. You've probably heard enough about core values today. I am so passionate about core values, and we really go through our individual core values. So this group will be able to say, hey, what are your individual core values? If you don't know those yet, you will by the time we get done, right? We'll know your 3 to 5 core values. For me, faith is one. That's my first one. That's my foundation, faith. Loyalty is one of mine, and that's the people in my life, right? For me, it's kind of an interesting, I went back and forth from fun to passion, and I actually landed on passion, and those are the things in my life. And then freedom is my other one, and that's the space that I have to live in, right? So those are my 4 core values, and if those get stepped on at any time, I'm a struggle bus. Like, those 4 are really, really important to me, okay? They're my true north, as Billy said, I think, in his presentation, okay? So we go through that. We go through passion, guys. We talk about FOMO and JOMO. So JOMO, one of my favorite sayings, FOMO, fear of missing out. JOMO, the joy of missing out, right? JOMO, man, it's awesome. I quit playing golf because of JOMO, and I had this realization that I had more joy of missing out on golfing than I had fear of missing out, and it changed everything. There's something in all of our lives that we need a little more JOMO in. I encourage you to lean into that. Figure out, what do you need to set aside in your life? What's just consuming your time that you would have more joy of missing out on? We go through people, and we talk about good nutrients and bad nutrients, the different people in your life. We put them on paper and really go through each of the 7 C's, and we talk about, are the people in your life the right people? We've heard it a couple times today, right? The 5 people in your life. We really dive into this. We were able to put it on paper and articulate it, okay? Who are the people you're surrounding yourself with? Priorities. So priorities and priority. For me, I'm a big believer in having one priority. And the definition, you can see a thing that is regarded as more important than any other. Leave it to Americans. We invented the word priorities in about 1940 because we couldn't just have one priority. We had to have more, right? And so we just, at the foundation at Title I, we have one top priority at all times. We never have more. The rest are areas of focus. We have one priority. All right, and then perspective. And we go through a really neat exercise. This is Winston Churchill and the Hubble telescope, and we really just talk about what perspectives are we bringing in life, okay? And then really have a cool exercise there, and then we wrap it up with a challenge. So there'll be some challenges coming to this group a little later on, okay? So those are the 5 P's of self-leadership, and really kind of a high-level overview of my personal leadership offense with the mountain journey. So with that, I just want to thank Carrie, Senate, the whole crew for putting this on. I'm super excited to be here. I think we're going to stay up here for a couple questions, and thank you guys for just committing the time to be here and grow today. I know, for us to spend all day outside of our businesses is a big deal, and so just kudos to you guys for being here. I can't wait to hear you guys this afternoon too, and the panel and everything. So thanks again just for having me and let me be a part of this today. I'm going to steal my water.
Jason, thank you very much for sharing that story. I want to get real vulnerable. Raise your hands, how many people in here know me? Okay, I want you guys to shout out what you think you know is my biggest personality trait. Okay, how about more? So I really appreciate those. What a lot of you probably don't know, I share it, but I don't share it with everybody, is I actually have bipolar II disorder. And I am actually a suicide survivor. So the J Foundation is really important to me because it reminds me to check on my people when I didn't have anybody checking on me. And it was really, really profound to go through my boot check. Look at my super cute boots, guys. Aren't they adorable? When I sat down and had my boot check, I didn't expect to be as emotional and as vulnerable as I was. I went in there to see what I could do to help. I wanted to give to the J Foundation. I appreciate what you do. Everything you do is important. And part of the boot check, right, is what do we do? What's our goal?
Check it on others, check it on ourselves.
Check it on others. So I called 3 people that day, 2 of whom I knew were having a really hard time. One seemed like they were doing okay, but of those 2, they both had suicide attempts within months of me checking in on them. And the problem is I checked in on them once. I'm like, I did my boot check. And then I went on with my life and I got busy. And they both felt like they were alone. So something we developed, which is really, really cool, is we do a 1 to 10 check-in with each other. If we don't really have the words, we just send each other, I'm at a 2, and I know that they're in crisis and they need me. I'll ask them, they'll ask me, hey, what number are you at today? I like to use it with my children. I have one son who isn't a talker. He doesn't talk about his feelings. He's not mushy-gushy or anything like that. But he was struggling for a while, and I asked him, daily, where are you at today? Just so that I could get a gauge on his emotions and how he was feeling without making him feel like he had to really let it out. So the boot check to me means so much that it's not just a one-time thing. You constantly, it's really hard to slow down. We're busy people. I am a busy person. But you take your time, I realized I hadn't talked to my sister in a couple of months, and I called her the other day. Did a little boot check with her. I was struggling very, very much last week, and I threw a boot check out because I knew if I was struggling, someone else was struggling. So just on Facebook, I threw up boot check, and I got so many responses, some of them from people in this room. And I saw that I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only one struggling. And in return, a lot of those people boot checked me back. Yeah. And we were able to have open conversations about where we were. And I got to go to lunch with a friend. Denise is here. She really helped me out that day. It was really marvelous. So the boot check is important. Bringing awareness is important. Yeah. And I appreciate it. And I want to do something today. If you've been boot checked, I want you to stand up. You guys, that's a lot of people. It's a lot of people, but I want to see everybody in this room get a boot check, because if we each get a boot check and we reach out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that may or may not be struggling, we're going to be able to impact this community in profound ways. We absolutely have a crisis right now. We are losing so many people and so many young people who don't feel like they have anyone to talk to. And, having conversations with your children. You shared stories about people who almost or have lost children. And it's really hard to acknowledge whether it's teenage angst or an actual mental health crisis.
Yeah, I mean, we've had kids as young as 9, 10 years old come in and have attempted to take their lives, guys. It's getting younger and younger. I think technology is a big part of it, right? Is just what our kids are seeing right now. It's crazy. I can't imagine growing up. It used to be if you're going to bully, you just had to do it in the hallway, and now we don't. So we see with the young kids, we see a ton of technology. With kind of the older folks, it's usually around a loss of passion, or the financial piece is big too. So they're two separate issues, and they're both rampant right now for sure.
So I want to do something today. Jared? I want to give an ask. If any of you are willing and able, there's a QR code that'll take you directly to the J Foundation, where you can donate anything that's in your hearts. You can also visit the J Foundation on their website, and you can give anything that you're willing to. And that's going to bring so much awareness to the Magic Valley. We're in crisis, and we need help. We need help. So I do implore you. I've wanted to do something for the J Foundation.
Yeah, thank you.
And this is what I feel I can do. This is a gift I can give, is asking our community to get involved. So I appreciate you so much.
Appreciate you too. And great job today. So it's awesome.
Oh, thank you. You did a marvelous job. I'm looking forward to learning more. So everybody, again, thank you very much. And thank you for my support team. I appreciate you guys so much. I don't think you know, sometimes when I'm in the weeds, just a really simple check-in saves me. And I appreciate you guys.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Can I get off the stage yet?
Yes.
Yeah, I get off? Cool. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.